PokemonRuby, the introduction to the Hoenn region, the epicenter of eco-terrorism, and home to perhaps our toughest challenge yet. I'm Vintage Meteor, and this is the story of my attempt at a hardcore Nuzlocke of PokemonRuby. Now, if you don't know about Nuzlockes, the full rule set is in the description below, but in summary, I'm only allowed to catch my first encounter in each area. If a Pokemon faints, it must be released or permaboxed. No using items in battle except for held items. No leveling up past the next gym leader's ace, and we have to play on set mode. Before jumping in, if you enjoyed today's video, please leave a like, comment, and consider subscribing. It's the best way to support the channel, only takes a second, and costs you absolutely nothing. Now, let's get into it. Because our mother loves us so much, she paid for express overnight shipping to deliver us, and all the other furniture, to our new home in Little Root Town. We jump right into things when we hear the professor needs help. Facing a level 2 Poochyena. Now, is it just me, or does Gen 3 have perhaps the coolest 3-starter Pokemon in the franchise? Two of which can really help you handle the ultimate challenge of facing Steven. So with zero forethought, we choose Trico, a decision that certainly wouldn't come back to haunt us. We name her Gilly, breeze past May, and collect our Pokédex to start our adventure. Kicking things off on Route 101, we catch a Wurmple named Caitlin. Then a Poochyena named Cersei on Route 103, and a Routes on 102 named Egret. Since our dad left the family to spend more time in the gym, he's become so self-absorbed that he ignores the 4 Pokemon in my party and sends Wally to show us how it's done. Moving on to Route 104, we can snag a Tailo and name him Jorah, because he's got guts. In Petalburg Woods, we pick up a Zigzagoon and name him Rickon, because he's useless, before we run into a Shroomish enthusiast. And just like all Shroomish fans, he's only more than happy to cower behind a 10-year-old boy in the face of conflict. In typical villain style, after defeat, the Magma Grunt seems happy to divulge details on their plans. Literally nobody asked. While grinding up for our first gym battle, on Route 116, we catch a Whismur named Alaria, and watch our cute little Wurmple evolve into a beautiful Cascoon? Damn. Then shortly after, into Dustox. After reaching the level cap, we're ready to take on Roxanne. Gilly makes short work of her Geodude with a Bullet Seed, and we then trade blows with her Nosepass, bringing her down to the red. Knowing my speed has been lowered by Rock Tomb already, I go for a quick attack to end the battle, completely forgetting that gym leaders can access potions. We're forced to switch now, and looking at my team, I'm realizing how weak we are to rock types outside of Gilly. We send in Caitlin, who tanks her rock throw pretty decently, before firing off a few confusions before inevitably going down. We forced out both her potions though, so now it's just a case of chipping her down. We send out Egret to get in a few more confusions before pivoting to Rickon for the sack. This gives us the clean switch back into Gilly to finish her off with a final Bullet Seed. That was much closer than it should have been. From this, Gilly evolves into Grovyle, we pick up the letter from Mr. Stone, and jump on this old man's boat on our way to Dewford. While preparing to face Brawly, we add a Makuhita to our team in Granite Cave and name him Drogo, while Cersei evolves into an intimidating Mightyena. While blindly stumbling our way through the gym, we face a Meta-type with some real pent-up anger, which is unleashed on Egret, dealing a massive blow to our type coverage. Thankfully, we still have Jorah, who can sweep through Brawly's team with a few wing attacks and win us our second badge. After being flashed by this hiker, we find our way through the cave to meet Steven for the first time. I know he seems warm and kind now, but trust me, this man and his Metagross will kill you and everyone you care about if given the chance. Cutting through Slateport and the obligatory Team Magma shenanigans, we can find an Electrite on Route 110 and name him Rob. And just past here, we find the Trick House, which I'd comfortably forgotten about for the past 10 years or so. Completing his maze and entering the self-indulgent password, we're rewarded by the Trickmaster with a single rare candy. But we'll take all the help we can get, because waiting just around the corner is our toughest battle yet against our rival May. This particular battle is known to be quite the run killer for less seasoned Pokemon masters, but for me, it's no different. We get off an early paralysis from Rob onto Wailmer before switching out to Cersei to set up with Hau to really boost our attack. I then proceed to use Bite, thinking I would sweep her team cleanly from here, and a gold star to whoever can tell me why this was a really dumb move in Gen 3. Had I actually gone for a physical attack like Tackle, this battle may have gone very differently. In pivoting around Combusken, we end up losing Drogo, and Rob, but not before the latter gets off her paralysis. We send out Jorah once more, praying for a full paralysis, or we'll be heading right back onto Littleroot Town. But Arceus is on our side today and we get it, with Jorah finishing off Combusken, then Gilly cleaning up her Shroomish. Our team has taken some really big hits lately, and our coverage is being tested big time. Oh, but don't worry, it's all worth it when May gives us the item finder. Thanks, I'll definitely use that a lot. Restocking our team a bit, we pull Ilaria out of the box and evolve her into a Loudred, while Jorah evolves into a gutsy Swallow. Heading straight over to the gym, we find none other than Wally, blocking the door while trying to convince his uncle he's ready to face the gym leader. We abruptly cut him down to size. Did he really think he could take on Watson, perhaps one of Hoenn's toughest leaders? Knowing the challenge we're about to face, I pop over to Route 117 and pick up an Oddish, name him Bran, and swiftly evolve him into a Gloom. Even though every single one of my Pokemon is weak against Steel, we walk into Watson's gym to claim our third gym badge. He leads with Magnemite and we send out Ilaria. He gets off a Thundershock before we land a Supersonic. We then swap out to our newest teammate and land a Stun Spore as he hits himself in confusion. Can you tell how much I hated Watson using this exact tactic against me as a kid? Now this might be a bit of an overkill in cheesy store tactics, but my next move is to send out Cersei to get Magnemite down to -6 accuracy with Sand Attack, occasionally switching Ilaria back in to keep it confused. After this, I can start boosting my attack with Hau, and don't worry, I learned my lesson from May, and start going for Tackle, where I can wipe out his Magnemite and Voltorb before Magneton comes in. Unfortunately, we had to use our Cherry Berry during the setup, so we get paralysed and take him down to around half. Knowing he now outspeeds, we send out Bran to paralyse him, and Ilaria to confuse him. We start howling up with Ilaria now, but he returns the favour and cripples us with the same status. We trade Thundershocks with Uproars until we're down to just 4 HP. Knowing this battle will now come down to paralysis luck, we have no choice but to go for it. And we get our second lucky break of the run, as he hits himself in confusion, and we break through for Uproar to knock him out. Without any ground, fighting, or fire Pokemon, we really got warded by Watson's Steel types. Good thing that we won't have to face any more in this game. Into Rust Turf Tunnel, and we reunite two lovers with Rock Smash. And I guess they were waiting there a while, because she immediately suggests they go rest at her home. Use protection! Heading north onto Route 112, and we can finally catch a Numel, and name him Stannis. Sure would have been useful to have him for that last gym. Into the Fiery Path, and we run into a Mudchop named Brienne. After choking on Soot on Route 113, we rush through Fall Arbor Town to get a key encounter on Route 114, a Zangoose named Sandor. Into Meteor Falls, and we accidentally interrupt a super secret summit of villains. We chase Team Magma out, and follow them up this adorable little gondola to the top of the creatively named Mount Chimney. Seriously, how many of you are up here? How many trips did that take? We interrupt Maxie while he's monologuing his plan to make this volcano erupt, to spew lava onto the continent to increase the landmass. Even though Mount Chimney is perhaps the furthest landmark from any water in all of Hoenn. Feeling embarrassed after we point this out, we're now obligated to fight to protect his ego. We both start with our Mardianas to trade Intimidates, before I switch out to Sandor and set up a Swords Dance. Going down to about half from a couple of bites, we get off a Slash to knock him out in one hit. Golbat comes out next, but he also falls to a single Slash. Last is his Camerupt, who also goes down to another Slash, thus proving that any problem is a nail if your hammer's big enough. I mean, who needs type coverage when you have brute force? Heading down the mountain, we catch a Spoink named Ned, on our way to Loveridge Town, the first town in the franchise that finally lets you bathe with old ladies. I'm glad they finally listened to community feedback. Into Flannery's gym, and we have to navigate a steamy maze. I'd never actually thought too deeply about this, but are we jumping in and out of vats of boiling hot water? Yet another opportunity to showcase my complete competence in this children's game. We eventually run into a trainer hiding in the water. Stannis can make short work of his Slugma with a magnitude, before facing off against his own normal. We foolishly trust the RNG of magnitude before only landing a 5, leaving him to land an 8 and wipe out our sleepy camel. Well, there goes plan A for facing Flannery, so we're on to the ever-reliable plan B, setting up 2 sword dancers with Sandor and wiping out her 2 Slugmas with Slash, before facing her ace, Torkoal, known for his high physical defense. Oh, never mind. Picking up the heat badge and the go goggles from May, we can head into the blistering winds and scorching deserts to find our next encounter, a Cacnea. We go for our weakest move, Quick Attack, but sadly, Sandor has no chill. Because these games pride themselves on making the player constantly backtrack, we then have to head back over to Petalburg to face off against our father Norman, host of probably the strongest physical attackers in the game. Unless of course you use Dig to cheese your way around Truant. I do get a bit ambitious and go for some swords dances before finishing him off with a Slash. Not sure if we outspeed or not, we switch out on his second slacking to Cersei. We start howling up on the Truant turns and interrupt his focus punch on the attacking turns. After going through this cycle for a while, we can take him down with one final strength, before Vigoroth falls to another 2. Disposing of our father, we head to Wally's house to collect our favourite move, Surf. In these games though, this does unfortunately mean we're about to spend about half of the remaining time on water. We pick up a Wingull on Route 106 named Davos, and backtrack yet again, past Dewford and Slateport, to arrive back in Moorville, where Watson sends us on the new Moorville side quest. We can snag a Magnemite here named Theon, because he doesn't have a gender, and evolve Ned into Grumpig, cruising through the rest of the quest and earning the TM for Thunderbolt for our troubles. We then have a mini heart attack on Route 118 when Steven charges into us, but thankfully we get off with a warning this time. On our way up to the Weather Institute, we can catch a Tropius and name her Daenerys, before having some pleasant conversation with some Magma Grunts on our way to facing Admin Courtney. Does anyone else look at her from this angle and think she has a beard? I know I always did. We breeze through her easily enough, and get offered a cast form as a reward, which I don't even bother going back for. Waiting for us to clear the area of crime, May ambushes us right outside. This time I do have slightly better coverage, so after Gilly cuts through her Whalmer in one hit, Ned can take down Combusken with a single Psybeam, and Jorah makes short work of her Shroomish with a wing attack. She gives us a HM for Fly for our troubles, which is right on theme, as soon after we land in Four Tree City, one of the more unique locations in the franchise. We try to head straight to the gym, but run into an invisible barrier. Seriously, as a kid who was very process driven in completing these games, it took me way too long before I was even willing to venture past Four Tree, leaving the gym behind, to find the solution. Of course, our friendly neighbourhood Steven gives us what we need with the Devonscope. So we add Theon to our party, evolve him into Magneton, spook the Invisilizard, and make our way to Winona. With a fearsome Magneton against her flying types, we actually have a good matchup for once. That is until Swellow immediately goes for double team, and we miss our first Thunderbolt. She then goes for a second double team, and I hate where this is going. But we break through the hacks and land Thunderbolt for the KO. Out next is Altaria, and emboldened by our matchup, we go for another Thunderbolt, but get outspared and hit with Earthquake. I think it's safe to say that overconfidence and not thinking I need to check movesets before battles has definitely cost me more Pokemon than anything else. We move on to plan B and send out Sandor to go for a Swords Dance, but they go for a Dragon Dance, which is frankly terrifying. They hit us with Earthquake down to below half, before we respond with a hard slash of our own. He's low now, so we go for a quick attack, again not thinking too hard about it, and she heals up with a Hyper Potion. Thankfully, Sandor is an absolute beast, and she goes down to below half anyway, so another can finish the job. Her Pelipper goes down to another slash, before she sends out her Skarmory. Without Magneton, our weakness to steel types is again on showcase, so buckle up while I scramble to find any viable tactic. I go to Ned first, thinking I would expose Skarmory's weaker special defense, before doing almost nothing with Psybeam. We quickly abandon this plan and send out Cersei to start the age-old stall of lowering its accuracy. Or I would if it didn't have Keen Eye. Oh man, things are starting to look dire. We start shifting Mightyena back in to get off some Intimidates, while chipping away with Bite, Strength, and Psybeam. Ned gets hit with a critical hit in the process, bringing him to just 3 HP, but not before he lands a clutch Confusion from Psybeam. Cersei comes back in to continue chipping away with Bite, and gets her down to the red, before Winona uses another Hyper Potion, undoing all the groundwork we've laid so far. Jorah's out next to continue chipping away before he too goes too low. Down to our last healthy Pokemon now, we send out Gilly, who can finish her off with a couple of Leaf Blades. Losing Magneton does hurt, but things could have been much worse there. Barely scraping by Cool Trainer Jennifer's infamous rain-boosted Milotic, almost losing Ned, we can push on to Route 121 to find our next encounter, a Duskull we name Gendry. Charging through Mount Pyre, and Gilly evolves into Sceptile, while we find a Shuppet and name him John, immediately replacing Gendry the Duskull. Interrupting Maxie before he gets started with 2 local swingers, I spook him and he runs off with the Blue Orb. Definitely the one you want to control the giant red cover of this game. With the fate of the world at stake, we chase him to Slateport, after we stop off at the Safari Zone to catch a Rhyhorn. Well, that serves me right, I guess. Figuring the world can wait a little longer, we think there's plenty of time for a bit of shopping in Lily Cove. We arrive to find May has already bought the last Nintendogs game, so we have to teach her a lesson. She's really given us some problems in the run so far, but this time we match up a little better with our Swellow wiping out hers, Sandor taking down Wailmer with a couple of slashes, and Ned sweeping through Combusken, and Shroomish with a few Psybeams. We steal the Nintendogs game from her, and finally make our way down to Slateport, where we find a meteor circus down by the docks. Inside, Maxie was kind enough to wait by the submarine for us to arrive, just to taunt us some more before he escapes. Real dick move. Backtracking yet again, we return to Lily Cove to find their super secret hideout. Inside, we claim our Master Ball by geniusly just running away from the wild Electrode before they can self-destruct. How can you not escape when we have a 5-level advantage against a wild Pokemon? With that, we lose one of our longest serving soldiers. We then have to battle this walking, talking distraction while the sub gets away again. We pull Davos from the box and train him into a Pelipper on our way over to Musdeep. We run into Steven again here, and maybe I've misjudged him all along, as he shows himself to be a stand-up guy by giving us the HM for Dive. Off the beach, we can fish up a Wailmer and name him Wyman, and just north of here in Shoal Cave, we can catch one of my all-time favourite Pokemon, a Spheal, who we name Sansa. Grinding up for our 7th gym badge, and Sansa evolves into Celio, while John evolves into Bayonet. After another easy puzzle for me to solve, we land in front of Tate and Liza, the Psychic Twins. They only have a Solrock and Lunatone in this game, so we lead with John and Sandor. A newly learned Shadow Ball from Sandor and a Feint Attack from John can take down Lunatone, while Solrock only goes for Sunny Day. Another Shadow Ball Feint Attack combo brings him down to a slither of HP as he gets off a Flamethrower onto Sandor for about a third. After another Hyper Potion and a couple more hits, Solrock falls and we earn the Mind Badge. Bobbing around underwater with a limitless air supply somehow, we stumble onto Team Magma's submarine and a secret seafloor cavern. Inside, we find the hibernating Groudon before Maxie barges in for a battle. However, this time we have Sansa, who promptly sweeps his entire team and evolves into a Warreen for her efforts. Maxie then tries to flex his Blue Orb on Groudon, who does awaken, but cracks the shits and flies out of the cave? Maxie, who can't understand why the Blue Orb couldn't control the red legendary, then realizes that a massive increase in solar activity may actually not be a good thing. Instead of helping in any way, Archie shows up to rub it in Maxie's face that he was wrong. Honestly, both of these guys would love Australia. If there's not bushfires, there's flooding. Something for everyone. Steven then flies into the middle of the ocean and lands next to us just to show us that he could have helped us save the world, but chose not to. Rushing over to Sotopoulos for a last-ditch effort to save us all from burning alive, we're relieved to see that the most powerful trainer in the region has teamed up with the most powerful gym leader to tackle the problem. All three of us head down to the Cave of Origin, where they both bravely offer to wait outside, putting the fate of the entire continent on the abilities of a 10-year-old. We enter the cave to find Groudon, who responds to our red orb and attacks. Fortunately, we have Sansa on our side, whose typing and thick fat ability mean we can land a blizzard and a surf before defeating the primordial beast. Having saved the world, Steven thanks us outside before warning us of Wallace's strength. We literally just defeated the fiery god of the earth while he waited outside and watched, so I'm sure we'll be fine. He begins with Love Disc, and we send out Ned, who makes short work of her with a couple of psychics. Our next is Whiscash, who gets us down to about half with Earthquake, as we do the same with Psychic. Anticipating the second Earthquake, we swap out to Sceptile, who tanks it, and hits a 4 times effective Leaf Blade to finish him off. Next up is Celio, who also goes down to another Leaf Blade, before he sends out Milotic. Filled with false confidence, I work out that we can survive a hit, so we stay in to get off a Leaf Blade for almost half, before he uses Ice Beam. And lands the crit, taking out Gilly, probably our best Pokemon. Moving on to our reliable plan B, a few Swords Dances and Slashes can overpower Milotic's recovery and finish him off. Last out is Seeking, who easily goes down to a final Slash. With the Rain Badge in hand, we're finally ready to face the Elite Four, but having lost so many good Pokemon along the way, it won't be easy. Into Victory Road, we can catch one final Pokemon to add some much needed bulk to the team, and Aron we name Edmure. Again proving that Game Freak love crushing the spirits of optimistic children. Just when we're mere steps from escaping, Wally shows up for one final battle. This is the only battle where he has a somewhat strong team, and we really can't afford another death this late in the game, so we'll have to meticulously plan this out. Or, you know, we could lead with Sandor, set up a Swords Dance, and sweep his entire team with Slash and Shadow Ball. Emerging from Victory Road, we finally arrive at Evergrande City. Grinding up to just below the level cap of 55 to match Drake's Salamence, we can evolve Edmure into Lairon, then Aggron. We also pick up Bran to fill our Grass Void left by Gilly, and evolve him into a Vileplume with a Leaf Stone. Meaning this is my final team to take on the Elite Four and Champion. We kick things off with Sydney and his Dark types. He sends out Mightyena, so we lead with Edmure to get off a Brick Break, which misses thanks to Sand Attack. With lowered attack and accuracy, we swap out to Sandor, and no prizes for guessing what happens next. With +2 attack, Mightyena goes down to a Slash. Cacturne is out next, who also goes down to a single Slash, as does Sharpedo and Absol. Last up is Shiftry, who gets us down to about half with Fake Out. We then miss a Slash thanks to an earlier Sand Attack, and he goes for Double Team. Oh man, this could really turn around quickly. We try Slash one more time, and we land it for the KO. Moving on to the Ghost Specialist Phoebe, and she leads with Dusclops, so we give John his first action of the run. A single Shadow Ball is enough to take down Dusclops, before she sends out her own Bayonet. Thanks to the level difference, we outspeed, so another Shadow Ball takes her down too, as well as her second identical Bayonet. Out next is another Dusclops, who's a bit bulkier and actually survives the hit in the red, before firing off her own strong Shadow Ball, bringing us low. We're faster though, so another hit finishes the job. Last out is Sableye, so we swap out to Sansa the Warreen, who comfortably tanks some hits and fires off a couple of surfs to finish the battle. The next Elite Four member is Glacier, who leads with Glalie, so for a bit of variety, we send out Ned. We land a critical hit Psychic, which just misses the KO before tanking a Crunch pretty well, although we do take a defense drop. We then go for Psybeam to finish her off, but she uses a full restore, so we do less than half, before we miss the KO with Psychic, and of course she lands a critical hit to take us down. Before the comments blow up, let me respond in advance. No, I don't know why I didn't just go for a second Psychic. Yes, I forgot she would automatically use a full restore. Yes, I didn't have to lead with Ned at all, and could have swept with a few of my other Pokemon, but I wanted to give him some screen time. Now that that's been addressed, we send out John, figuring we'd surely outspeed. But we don't, and take 50% damage for no reason, before knocking her out. Out next is her stronger Glalie, so we send out Sansa, which we should have done a while ago, because a couple of surfs take her out. Next up is Helio, so we bring in Bran and with a couple of Petal Dances can take her down. Her second Celio comes in, and we've already taken too much damage, so we swap out to Edmure on a resisted Blizzard. Next turn though, Celio uses Attract, which immobilizes us. We do get off a hard-hitting Iron Tail before she eventually goes for Dive, forcing us to switch out. We send Bran back out, who can finish off with a Petal Dance, and on the very turn that Hail stops, she sends out her ace, Warreen. We don't really have a safe switch in, so we mentally prepare ourselves to lose Bran. But she misses Blizzard, and we land a Petal Dance, which brings her below half after a Citrus Berry. Hoping he'd again go for an Ice move, we switch to Edmure, who takes way more damage than I thought from Blizzard. Pivoting again, we send out Sandor, and she misses her Blizzard. We land the crit, going for one final slash and take her out. That one was looking rough towards the end. Nonetheless, we make it through and move on to Drake, the Dragon Master. We lead with Sansa against his Shogun, and a single Blizzard wipes him out. Next out is his Flygon, and not wanting to risk missing, we go for Surf, and he sets up a Sandstorm. He goes for Dig, but we have a plan, and switch to Edmure, who can tank the hit. He goes for a second Dig, but we anticipate it, and go for Earthquake to finish him off. But despite being under the earth, he's still levitating apparently, so we swap out to Bran to take the hit. We then heal a bit with Moonlight, before he lands a Dragon Breath Paralysis on us, and we return the favour with a Stun Spore. Next turn we're both paralysed, so we end up sending out Sandor as Flygon still can't break through. We go for a Swords Dance as he yet again can't move, so a Slash finishes him off. Next up is Altaria, who survives in the red after a Slash and goes for Dragon Dance. But after a full restore, we take him down too. His next Flygon doesn't fare any better, and also succumbs to a few more slashes. Last out is his ace, Salamence, so we switch back to Sansa to tank a Dragon Claw before responding with a Blizzard for the KO, defeating Drake. Which leads us to our final challenge of the run, the champion himself, Steven Stone. It's fitting that it all led to this, as we've really struggled against Steel types throughout the run, but we're much stronger now, so we're ready for redemption. He leads with Skarmory, and we start off with Edmure, having nothing to hit it hard. He sets up a layer of spikes, and we go for Brick Break, for almost no damage. He then hits us with a Steel Wing, and gets the defense boost, as we respond with Double Edge. We swap out to a special attacker in Sansa, as he also swaps and sends out Armaldo. We'll take that. Sansa wipes him out with a single Surf, and then he sends out Claydol, who hits us with an Earthquake before surviving Surf on a slither of HP. This does force out a full restore though, and another couple of Surfs can take him down. Next up is Cradilly, so we shift back to Edmure, who takes a lot of damage from Giga Drain. We survive a second hit on just 15 HP, before firing off an Iron Tail for big damage. We play it safe and go out to Bran as he uses a full restore. and next turn we use Sludge Bomb, which crits and poisons. He hits us slow with a couple of ancient powers, as Sludge Bomb and poison damage take him down. So far, so good. Skarmory comes back out, and wanting a safe switch, we watch Bran go down to an aerial ace. This lets us get out Sandor safely, and we go for a Swords Dance, as he tries to use Toxic, but thanks to our immunity, it fails. We get off a second Swords Dance, as we're hit to around half HP with a Steel Wing. We go on the offense now, and a couple of slashes can take him down, leaving us in the red. Last up is his Metagross, which is frankly terrifying. We get off a Shadow Ball for around 2/3 before we fall to a Meteor Mash. We then go to John for the type advantage, as he heals with a Citrus Berry. Oh man. We go to fire off a Will-O-Wisp, but we're too slow and we get hit with Meteor Mash, which knocks us out. We send out Sansa, but she's also too slow. And Edmure doesn't even make it past the spikes, wiping out our team. So, it turns out that my crippling weakness to steel types, which we identified all the way back at Watson's gym, and did absolutely nothing to rectify, turned out to be kind of important. For the completionists out there, I did reload the battle to see if it was possible with our remaining team. This time went much the same, however by the time we got to Metagross, we were able to keep Bran, Edmure, and Sandor on full HP. Bran survives the Psychic on just 5 HP before he lands a crucial Stun Spore. We fall on the next turn and send out Edmure, who can outspeed thanks to Paralysis and land a fairly strong Earthquake, before Metagross returns serve and takes us down in one hit. It all comes down to Sandor now, as Metagross recovers some HP with his Citrus Berry. The difference this time though, is Sandor now knows Fire Blast. We know one hit won't be enough for the KO, and it will force him to use a full restore, so we go for a Shadow Ball for a bit of chip, which puts him in range. Luckily for us, he gets fully paralysed, and on the next turn, we're able to land Fire Blast and knock him out, defeating Steven. Even though we weren't able to successfully complete this hardcore Nuzlocke, it's at least good to know that we could have if I'd planned it a bit better. Or, you know, chose Torchic as my starter to just sweep Steven. I can definitely say that we'll be back for revenge on Steven and Metagross, so stay tuned. In the meantime, there's plenty of other adventures to be had, so if you're interested in seeing more Pokemon challenges, like and comment on this video, and subscribe to the channel. If you haven't already, you can have your say on these challenges over on my Twitter, and catch some of my other runs here. That's it for today guys, I'll catch you all next time.